and underscores then the pivotal role of AI product managers that need to guide this and not to control. So I think this is a very, very, very interesting idea. Then you added as well the other idea, which is you need discipline in order to measure the product and keep those value delivery practices coming in, which are traditional but needed in a certain sense. Then from Boyan's talk, what I've learned is that AI product management can learn a lot from principles of lean practices. I don't know if you know the book Phoenix Project or Accelerate. There's a lot of stuff there for software development, so it's always good to have that in mind. And then this concept of reducing complexity until you get an MVP, so you can build your cathedral, but in steps and iterative deployment and with continuous delivery. Okay, so this is where we depart from. Since I don't have yet your questions, I'm going to start this with a question of myself.
Just how you can do it to ask questions, you can just go to Boyan's talk and put the questions there, since we forgot to create this session in the app, but you can solve it by just using the previous talk, okay? Perfect, leave your questions there.
Okay, just going to open my mobile, so, Okay, so there's a few ones here. I will start with another one, and then I'll have a look. Okay, so the first question is about balancing agility and innovation with structured timelines and sponsor expectations. So this idea on how we do this. So from one side, you want to be agile, and you want to be, you want to balance innovation. You need to do that. But on the other side, and we live this on our organization, is that you have the when it's done question. You need to translate that agility and dynamic into a calendar sometimes in order to make a commitment of when you're going to deliver that value from the product. So how do you manage this? That's my question. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can steal a lot from other disciplines. For example, right, in investing, you have this distribution of risk. So this 80-20 principle, maybe many of you have heard, and I think no management team which approves budgets and money, especially the big ones, they will tell you, go like take 100% of this and do something crazy. Nobody would say yes to this. And I would always say you need to have some kind of a portfolio. When I talk about data products, also portfolio management is part of this. You don't just build one product, yeah? You have to look around in the organization. Maybe your team is building one product, but you have to make sure that not all of you are building visionary products which are going to probably die. Maybe just some, and I would say 20 to 80%. Somebody needs to build the bread and butter products of data, right? Maybe the BI stuff, right, which sometimes doesn't feel the most exciting in innovative field, right? But it brings money. Mm-hmm. It brings value that you as a data person, data team, can move forward and fund the more ambitious things which are going to likely to fail.
So like managing a portfolio of different projects.
A portfolio, yeah, and distribute the risk among this portfolio.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to?
I agree. I think, so going back, for example, to my time at Feedzai Research, we would have a portfolio, and different projects would have different risks. And that is really important. One thing that I also like is the idea that you can have a big direction, something that is big enough. You think, okay, I have enough projects here. Maybe I have 10 projects here, 20 projects here. So it makes sense to go and to follow this direction broadly so that you can explore the state of the art, so that you can explore that space. So in my opinion, you need a direction that is big enough, and then you need to diversify, and I completely agree. And if I can suggest something also on top of that is we also need to rethink deliverables. Oftentimes we think about the deliverable as being, you know, the final thing, the final feature, but sometimes a report saying we tried A, B, and C, and these are the results, and you know what, they are not particularly good. Those things also, those don't do with visible work. No. All work should be visible, and if the results are not great, the results are not great, but make sure that you deliver continuously. That I think is, even if the results are not great, or particularly if the results are not great, to manage expectations and so on, that I think is also super important.
You educate your sponsors on the travel, because there's uncertainty, as you said, on building a product. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. So another question, because product managers are kind of in the middle of the sponsors and stakeholders and the development team. And so I ask you how you're managing the sponsors. Now let's try to see how you juggle the expectations with the development team. So when you have these moments which are more difficult, how do you keep the team motivated while doing product management and taking decisions that sometimes are not, how can I say, people will not be happy about it?
I think, in my experience, the only way to go around that is to always connect the decision to value. So maybe this is the scikit-learn random forest, or maybe we will try something very simple. That by itself is not particularly exciting. But if you tie that to value, and if people understand the process and they do understand that now we will try this simple thing, we will receive feedback, and then we will get to iterate, we will get maybe to the complex thing, we are just going step by step. If they understand the long-term game plan and they understand the connection to value, I think we should operate at that level. If we operate at the task level, it's a game that we cannot win because deep learning will always be more exciting and big. So I think we need to operate at that level with the team.
Can I ask you, perhaps not always deep learning is more exciting, because also building models which are more compact and transparent is also a hard task. So sometimes framing the challenge in a different way perhaps could be a solution for that conundrum as well.
In a way, I also think that connects to value, because maybe explainability is core to your value.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of articulating that vision. And again, if you articulate that vision, if there is a process, in my opinion, people actually like impact. And if they understand, they are like, okay, we understand why we need to do this. We want to be impactful. We will approach it in this particular way.
I mean, I would probably add to this in the same vein that I did before. Like, I would do the negative of what you said.
Yeah.
Because you come from the positive side, I'll come from the negative. Everybody will fail. And all of us in software and data, I'm sure all of us feel that you're kind of building a house of cards and you just hope it's going to, at the end, make sense, right? Mm-hmm. If we're honest with ourselves. So I think that having the culture of failure, this comes from the US, we can steal a lot of their risk tolerance, I think, that they build things which fail. They say fail fast, right? Unless you're building medical devices, of course, don't do it. But I think with the technical people, they should have the culture of failing, right? It is totally fine that you did something which is not used in production, or what you said, collecting the negative stories and as deliverables, right? And I think if the technical team has the comfort that negative results are also results, I think you can have good expectations with them. So I think that's a good trick.
Okay, so framing that as a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Normalizing maybe as well, right? It's part of the process.
Yeah. Normalizing.
Whatever.
Yeah. Not blaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I have one question from the audience. I think it was related on your talk, but it's applicable to those of you. And the question is from Guilherme. He's asking: isn't building backwards the same? We all hate sales promising things that don't exist or that the product isn't yet able to deliver.
That's a low blow, right? I have to say this. Like,
not cool.
It's true. It's very dangerous. Like, any of those things can be interpreted exactly in that way, right? Somebody promises something without asking the developers. But this building backwards idea is that the technical people come with that, right? Like, we shouldn't let the salespeople do it without us, right? So I think it's a more like organizational question that we should be involved in those things. So I think, to make a circle to what I said, we should be comfortable with words like this, right? I would be the first one to roll my eyes when somebody says, yeah, let's use the Amazon building backwards method today. Yeah. But if you're patient with this and kind of learn to speak this language and be involved in these things as a data person, especially if you're head of data or something like this, I think you can avoid those issues.
Okay.
So the product needs to sell, and there will be selling. So I think that if you don't position your product in the way you think it should be, someone else will, and therefore you will have sales-driven development. So I think that as technical people, we should not be afraid of shaping the product vision and doing that exercise before the technical work, I think it's very empowering for the team, because otherwise you will be focusing on the details and someone else will get to build the narrative, and I don't think that the narrative and the technical implementation should be detached. I think they are one, they serve the same purpose, and I think we need to empower technical teams to operate there as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, good answer. Okay, so there's one question from Maria, which actually has overlap with one that I had on my pocket. It's about transition and growth from a technical path in data science or data engineering to product AI. I just wanted to complement that with also people that are coming from, as you contrasted on your presentation, project managing, because I think that we'll have scarcity of AI product managers. It's quite a difficult role. It has to do a lot of multidimensional things. So probably people will be coming from technical roles and they'll be better at some dimensions, but we also probably will have people that are coming from other backgrounds. So I would like to hear with Maria, I think, which is the learning path. How can these two roles get to be competent product AI managers?
That's an excellent question, to be honest. I mean, what is going to happen here is like what happened in our industry. Remember, like 10, 15 years ago, we had data scientists, new title, right? Who are those people now, right? We had statisticians. Then we realized we need data engineers, and now we realize we need data and AI product managers. This specification of jobs is going to take time, but one thing I'll say, you have the different flavors, right, of this job, right? I had the title data scientist early before it was cool. Then I had the title data strategist early before it was cool, so I fought with this. But what happens is this specification is just going to proceed. And I think I met people who come from a technical background, and there were people who came from business background, same title, right? And I think this has to continue. So we shouldn't exclude people based on their background, but they should communicate it very directly, clearly, and maybe kind of specify this somewhere in the title. Like we have the machine learning engineers now as well. So I think in data and AI product management, you're also going to have some kind of a flavors to it.
Okay, cool.
And on top of that, I think that, so one trend that we are seeing is technical teams increasingly empowered to define backlog, manage backlog, define priorities. And I think this is the right way to go. So oftentimes these tasks that we think as the tasks of the product owner, they are being more and more performed at the team level. And I think it makes sense because the team, they have the most context. And if we build skill sets, again, if we have the feedback loops, if we have technical teams that understand the impact and so on, they are likely at the right level to make those decisions. And I think we will see these technical roles growing to encompass part of this as well. The same thing is happening in product. Now we see product management roles that, you know what, it's not about managing the backlog. It's about what is the go-to-market strategy? What is the distribution channel? How do we go about communication? How do we go about the press release? So we are seeing product as, a little bit product, a little bit marketing, a little bit sales even. And I expect that to grow as well. So this is what I see, and I think it will be the same thing here, knowing that in AI product management, to go to market, all of these things are even more important because we don't know how to do them still. So they are a little bit still open questions. So I would expect, and if you are trying to build an AI product management skill set, I would say expect technical teams to manage the details of the work and focus on the AI value proposition, distribution, go-to-market strategy, and those things.
So actually, the old-fashioned stuff that you were mentioning on your talk. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but even so, and try to just stay a little bit longer on this question, and then we go to the next one. It's quite a challenge to navigate on all the rapid AI advancements for AI product manager, and I would say that probably for someone that has no technical background, just to review as you review the algorithms that are available, that's going to be hard, and then it's like to think how to do a product if I don't know what possibilities exist to do the product, because I'm not technical fluent. So how do you see that? And even if you're technically fluent, how do you do it? Which methodology or which strategy do you have to be on top of things?
let me borrow from Boyan because we are very aligned there. So I don't think it is about the specifics of the model. I think that when you think about lean, you don't know how the machine works, right? You are measuring outputs and you are making sense of them. You understand the process, you understand the value chain, and you are making sense of outputs. So I think that metrics will play a big role. I think feedback loops will play a big role. And I think that development processes will play a big role. And I think that it's really important for product managers to stay there and to understand how do we measure what is success for us and how do we measure success. So because if you have that process and if you have that feedback loop, you can try OpenAI and you can try something else and you can evaluate results explicitly, right? Oftentimes the problem is not about technical fluency, but it's the lack of mechanisms and processing and whatnot that do not allow product managers to have enough information for their decision making. So I would focus a lot there on making sure that you build a feedback loop, making sure that you understand the value chain in the process, measuring outputs, and basing your decision making on that.
Okay. Yeah, now we have an unpopular opinion. Maybe we'll agree. Let's see. Unpopular opinion. I think all of us are trying to be very fancy with what we do, but it was invented 5 times over the last 20 years. Like the lean methodology is like 60s. And if you listen to the keynote today, a lot of the things come in circles, right? ChatGPT, super ugly interface, but what they did was they built it backwards, right? It broke all the time at the beginning, but people just used it. So we should just go back to the basics. I think you can't beat experience and you can't beat strong foundations. If you think about products, you'll be building software products for 50 years, I think, now at this point. So instead of trying to invent new things, we should just go do the basics of product management and just apply it to our field, I think, instead of new things.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I think that we have time for one more. Let me see. I had one here with the word Mexican army. Here it is. I like this one. From Nemanja again. Okay. How do you avoid the AI product management turning into a Mexican army? More managers than developers. I think you already talked a little bit about that, but if you want to
empower the technical people. The technical people, it's not that they don't understand businesses. It's not that they don't know how to prioritize. It's not. So those things I need to let go of that. And we need to trust that with appropriate processes and guidance, they will be able to, if we empower them, to prioritize, to manage a backlog, and even to go beyond that, to think about, okay, what should be the next steps for our product. So empower technical people and expect that from them. Oftentimes companies don't expect that from technical people, and therefore they don't deliver that. And they need, hundreds of different types, the product manager and the team manager and whatever these types of different, delivery manager, these type of roles.
Yeah, I think either you do this or the market will do it for you, I think.
Exactly.
Like if you look at the layoffs, the type of people, sometimes obviously there are people who are good, right, and technical, but it's often those roles which, people wonder what are those people doing, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, like specifically in the German region, right, the way we build things, if you don't deliver value, the market will tell you can't just go away with get away with just fancy data science that we do. People now, the big companies, we all know that it's not enough just to have the data scientist, somebody needs to deliver value. So I think now it's very hard to be an agile coach sometimes who doesn't deliver value. I think the market adjusts, it's just a question of time. So I agree. And that's a good thing, I would say.
I also agree.